Hello everyone, it's been about 6 months since I took my watercolor set out from the dark and dusted corner of my drawer and I started painting again. And today I want to talk about my watercolor journey and show you my sketchbook and other watercolors works. Let's start with the sketchbook. This is a 40% cotton paper on a spiral. I've had it for a long time, so the first pages are very old. They aren't dated, but I suppose they were created in 2016 or something like that. The first page are miniature wet-on-wet sketches. I don't know where I got this idea from. This is not something that I was doing back then, and I believe this is the only example of such work. They are not bad though. I like how I included those samples of the colors here. The next 2 pages are copies of some pictures I found online back then. I think I did a really good job here. To be honest, after all the struggles that I had this year when I went back to painting, I was very surprised that I painted such a nice picture a long time ago. Oh, this picture is dated, so it comes from July 2017. Anyway, I really like that. It is a simple picture, but I don't know if 6 months ago I could paint it. Here I decided that this is a sketchbook, not a gallery of nice pictures, and I did some tests for a huge painting that I wanted to make, but wasn't sure which colors to use, and I actually recorded it, and it was here on YouTube, but I hid it since it was terrible. Now we get to the more recent painting. This is from 2022. It's not bad, but it's not good either. I like this head part and the smooth background, but the lower feathers are a total mess. I remember that I was very disappointed with it because I had a clear vision of what I wanted it to look like, but I had no skills to do that. This is, I believe, from last year. I wanted to get back to gouache, but I used to have very low quality paints that were sitting in a drawer for many years, so some of them actually spoiled. I have no idea how, but they did. I threw away the spoiled ones and tried to test the remaining colors, but I couldn't get anything decent from them. Let's put the sketchbook on hold for now, because the next page is more recent and I want to follow the chronological order of events. In December of last year, I decided to paint a kingfisher and a koi fish. I had some inspiration hit me and I had a clear vision of the paintings, but it wasn't easy. This is the first kingfisher that I made. I don't really know how to comment it. Now I am almost laughing at it, but then I was frustrated. But I tried again, and the second try went much better. Is it a nice picture? No. Is it what I imagined? Also no. But it did restore some of my confidence. The next was the koi fish. So the colors got muddy pretty soon. Like, what is this greenish here? And the background does not help the situation either. It might not look that bad now, because after adding this ink liner, it improved exponentially, but it was a failure. So I tried 2 more times, and those were not that bad. Still, I had to add the line art. It was not my choice, okay? But they do look decent, especially the violet one. I really love the vibrant blue in this area, although the rest of the tail is not so pretty. But again, watercolor confidence restored. And after that time, I decided to try some YouTube tutorials, and I painted those maple seeds, but I guess I got bored with the topic because I didn't even finish it. I also failed a little bit because the tutorial picture differed a lot from what I painted. A breakthrough was when I attended watercolor workshop by Kasia Kmiecik. She is a Polish watercolor painter. I will link her Instagram in the description. Normally I would probably not attend it, but the topic of the workshop was a horse, which is my main art interest, so I signed up immediately. And this is what I painted. I was so happy with it and amazed that I was able to paint such a nice painting. I also learned some very useful knowledge there, and I was using this knowledge since then. If we were in a game, I would definitely level up after this workshop. With my newly gained knowledge, I was eager to repeat that successful painting, and I tried to paint another horse by myself. And oh boy, was that a humbling experience. This is it. The beginnings were great. The first 2 layers looked lovely, believe me. But when I started adding the details, I started messing up. I added too much pigment and everything got dark. I painted over all the nice layers I had and there was almost no light anymore. So I just stopped. Anyway, I decided I should keep learning from others, not rush to waste cotton paper. And this is where the sketchbook comes back. So those leaves are from the watercolor techniques tutorial by Anna Bucciarelli. You can find all videos that I will mention in the description. So I drew the same leaves as her and tried to follow her instructions. I did know the techniques either from the workshop that I attended or from other tutorials that I watched in the past, but knowing of them doesn't mean I knew how to use them. I especially struggled with those two because I didn't have smaller brushes, so they turned out wonky. But it was a nice tutorial. Then I found those grapes on her channel. It's dated, so it comes from the end of April. And pictures such as those grapes are something that I love. Colorful, vivid, and with a lot of detail that is challenging to paint. But Anna did a great job explaining how to handle this. I was very happy with this picture. Of course, I realized that it wasn't great, that the edges of grapes are terrible, but I managed to catch a glimpse of what I would never think I could paint. And I was happy about that. But painting those grapes, I realized I am missing two things: small brushes and paint pigments. So, first of all, I could hardly maneuver my brush to add only a small dot of pigment and to paint those edges nicely. That's why they are so bad. Second of all, I couldn't get as nice pinks and various violets as Anna. I also couldn't get a nice peach color. Here I did one more techniques tutorial from Anna. I think I knew all of them except for those two, but I will not describe them now. You can check the linked video if you are interested. After that, I painted this peacock. I think it was the last painting that I did with my old watercolor set. I was happy with it. I finally managed to paint something by myself that I didn't need to add any line art to. But this is when I decided that I need new paints. I'm not saying you always need to have the best materials, but at the same time I think it is best to get the best quality that you can afford, because bad quality materials are often so frustrating to use and you actually have to have more skills to get them to perform. So my research took long. I have learned so many things about pigments that I have never heard before. And finally I got my Roman Szmal watercolors for my birthday. You can check the unboxing video on my channel if you want to know more about them. And I started experimenting with them. I also stumbled upon an Instagram profile, Draw Daily Together. Each week they provide some reference photo to paint, and I thought this is a great opportunity to try the new paints without any stress. I think this is the first one I painted, although I don't remember if I used the new paints already. But for this page, I definitely did. I was very happy with those new paints. They were so bright and vibrant and much easier to use. Every week I found something inspiring on this Instagram page, so I kept painting. Not all paintings were that good and vibrant. For example, those two. They turned out pretty dull, but this is fine. I'm most proud of this one. I love the colorful reference and I was actually stressed while painting because I really wanted it to look good, and I was so happy with the results, especially that I had to paint water, which is not so easy. I also painted those four, although I did use some gouache for them. I wanted to try something more abstract when I saw the references they provided, and I really liked this page. And I also like this painting. It's also from the reference from Draw Daily Together. They provided this photo of a cat with very nice colorful shadows. When I saw those shadows, I was so inspired that I had to paint it, and I actually like how it turned out. I think it's very nice and that I managed to capture those colorful shadows. I also kept painting in my sketchbook. I painted this peacock tail. You can also find video on my channel. It was one of the first paintings that I have ever made with those new watercolors. Here I want to try painting the grapes again, but with those new paints and brushes. I want to see the difference. Here I tried a very loose flower painting. I got inspired by another Instagram account. I don't remember its name, but I will make sure to have it in the description. And I just tried to paint something I saw on the reels. I didn't analyze the technique of this girl that runs this Instagram, so it's not that good. I also painted this wisteria flower, which is also on my channel. I tried to use some techniques from Anna Bucciarelli here, with better or worse effect, but it's not that bad. On the next page I was painting toucans. Some parts are not bad, but I covered the whole page with too saturated yellow at the beginning, and then I couldn't achieve cold and vibrant green on the beaks, so I got annoyed and left it unfinished. Here I painted 3 horse eyes. I struggled a lot with those. There is going to be a video of me painting them. On this page I tried to release the potential of granulating pigments that I have. The first layer was very nice, but then I started painting while the paper was too wet and it got destroyed. It was a good learning page though. Here I have a horse sketch ready, but I am afraid to paint it after all my previous struggles. So far it waits for a better moment. I also painted Penelope Featherington portrait, which was not that easy because, first of all, I don't usually draw or paint people, and also the paper is only 40% cotton and I used many layers. After a while I could clearly see that this paper cannot handle so many. And the last painting in my sketchbook are those lilies that grow in my garden. They're not the best, a lot of details got lost, but it is a nice start to learn more. It's the end of the sketchbook, but not the end of the video yet. I hope you aren't asleep yet. I also painted one more lily. I think it was painted before the red one. I also attended online workshop by Kasia Kmiecik again. It's available on Instagram, so you can try it yourself. It is in Polish though. We were using granulated colors here from Winsor and Newton. I don't have those paints, so I just used the granulating paints that I had, and the results are quite similar. I used the same rough paper as for the horse that I failed to paint, and to be honest, I don't really like this texture. It's too rough to me. But with such a painting as this one, where there was a lot of wet on wet techniques used, I think it quite matches the vibe, but still, I don't think I'm going to buy this paper again. Hi, it's me from the future speaking. I somehow lost audio for the rest of the video, so let me try to repeat what I said there. I painted those 2 flowers during a 5-day online workshop by Margarita Astaszowa. At the time when I was recording the video, the workshop was still in progress, but now I can show you all that I painted then. There were 2 more flowers and a water drop. However, you can see that I was not so keen on painting the water drop. I wasn't trying too much and the final effect is not great. But I find this last pink flower very lovely. And finally, I painted this fish, which I am so proud of. This is more or less what I wanted to paint in December and I finally did it. I painted it thanks to another tutorial by Anna Bucciarelli. My only invention here is adding a background. And this is all I painted with watercolors since last December. Tell me what you think. I can really see a progress here and I am curious what other paintings I can make till the end of the year. My hope is to finally be able to paint better, especially horses, and to generally be able to make nice paintings without any guidance. Because during tutorials my final paintings look decent, but when I experiment by myself it is not that great. Anyway, thank you for being here, especially if you are still here after such a long video. Don't forget to leave a like and maybe consider subscribing to see my future development. Bye bye!